Transcripts and recordings of the podcast may not be used for any purpose without the direct written permission of the podcast owner. Welcome to LITE It Up, a podcast about resilient women balancing motherhood, their careers, personal lives, and all of the challenges that come along with being a superwoman. Each week, you'll be motivated to take action to lead, inspire, transform, and empower. Now, here's your host, Dr. Aginah Musherah. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of LITE It Up. I am your host, Dr. Aginah Musherah. I am so excited to be back on the microphone. It has been a really long time. It's been at least 6 weeks, I think, since I have last been on the air. I was on the air December 7th, 2021, and I took a much needed break. So we are now well into the new year, 2022. So I guess I should say Happy New Year to each and every one of you. I hope that 2022 is off to a great start for you. I have a lot that I want to share, but I'm not really sure that I have the time to share it in this episode since it is the beginning of season 4 for LITE It Up Podcast. And I have to be honest, I had plans to return last week, but I'm learning to become flexible and to be okay with things not turning out exactly how they were planned. What I realized is that I was tired. And not only was I tired, I have been recuperating from a back and leg injury that I suffered while on vacation with my teenagers over the winter break. So I'll probably tell you about that another time, but needless to say, it's been a road to recovery. So I am in physical therapy 3 times a week. I think I have maybe about 9 weeks left, but to be able to sit and talk to you and be on this microphone is making me feel better already. I couldn't do that a couple of weeks ago. So I'll just tell you that I do not wish back pain on anyone whatsoever. But needless to say, I was on a hiatus and, I realized that I was exhausted, drained, and really trying to assess how I've been able to keep moving. You all know that I have a full-time job. I'm a divorced mom of 3 teenagers, 2 of whom are seniors in high school. So we've been working on the college application process, and so proud to say that my son and daughter have been admitted to over 25 schools thus far. They've made a decision, but I am not permitted to tell anyone until decision day. So you all will hear all about that. But I also have my youngest, who's a freshman in high school, who is the social butterfly and loves to be involved in everything. So I've been in a million and one different directions. And it's just been a lot. But I find joy with being on this microphone and coming to you each week and providing relevant content and bringing guests on who are going to enlighten you and share their experiences with you. So I just try to keep doing what I'm doing. And so today marks the 100th episode of LITE It Up. And I don't take that lightly at all. Wanted to do something really, really special, but I said, you know what? What I'm going to do is something different. Normally, you see me on video when I have a guest. I don't have a guest today. So it's just you and me, one-on-one here. So I want to kind of focus on my reason why, because you guys know it's been 2 years since I launched LITE It Up. I'm really excited to be able to be in front of the camera today to say that we're celebrating episode number 100. Like I said, I don't take that lightly at all. When I decided to launch LITE It Up in 2020, it was after I had published and released my book, Women Who Persevere, Navigating Motherhood with Power and Grace. I had lost my dad in 2019, lost my partner in 2018. So it was just a series of different emotional roller coasters that I had gone through. And I was trying to find a way to connect with a larger audience because I get so many one-on-one inboxes, messages asking me about different topics, whether it's education, parenting, starting a life after a divorce. And I thought, you know what? How about I talk to folks and reach a wider audience and focus on women who are in the midst of a transition? That was the plan, right? LITE It Up was supposed to focus on women who were transitioning from either a marriage that didn't last or a relationship that didn't last and trying to balance motherhood, their careers, and starting all over. And I had just this amazing plan for this platform. And I also plan to bring a guest on each month who was, a leader in their respective field, whether it was the private sector, the public sector, or someone who was an entrepreneur. And my very first guest just so happened to be my cousin, Kashana Island, who is an entrepreneur. She has Unboxed Shop and a de-escape. So you can follow her, of course, on social media. You've seen her on LITE It Up a couple of times, and she's also interviewed me as well. But what I didn't know, and nobody could have known, was that we were going to come to a complete halt. The world was going to come to a complete halt with the pandemic. And I had to pivot as soon as I got out the gate starting with LITE It Up. And what I mean by that is basically the plan was to bring a guest in one-on-one to have conversations and to talk to them about their respective field. Well, once COVID hit, I couldn't interview anybody one-on-one. So I had to think quickly on my feet. And, we've been living in the world of Zoom and Google Meets and everything else for the last 2 years. And that was the way I decided to pivot to continue to bring content for LITE It Up. And I love the platform. I hope you do too. But it gives me a way as a mom trying to balance like all of these different endeavors that I'm involved in. It gives me an opportunity to still be able to connect with my guests. We're able to schedule our time to talk and bring content to you. And so that has worked so far. And, I've still been able to focus on my goal of empowering women. What I didn't know is that men were going to tune in too. And I am absolutely grateful for the men who tune in to LITE It Up. 30% of my listeners and viewers are men. So that means that we've got something that men want to hear. And I've also had men on the show. And one of the reasons for that is because I believe that we can learn from each other. One of the ways that I think that we can improve the relationships or the dynamics between men and women is that we learn how to communicate, we learn how to listen, and we need to consider each other's point of view. And that's what I plan to continue to do with LITE It Up. So as a result, I've been able to bring on guests each week to talk about relevant topics, to share different ideas, and give you an opportunity to learn different things. I focusing in on topics that are important to our community. There are certain topics that I have a tendency to kind of steer clear of, and there are other topics that I try to tackle head on. What I want to do is be able to highlight those who may not have a voice or those that you may not hear about. And I'm going to continue to do that with this season of LITE It Up, but it's going to be a little bit more focused in terms of what I want to do this year. With the start of each year, I don't believe in making resolutions. I focus on what are my intentions, what are my goals for the year. And if you remember, one of the very first episodes of LITE It Up was goals. And it was an acronym for Get on Another Level, Sis. And that was probably one episode that I still get feedback from, where people will go back and listen and talk about what they learned from that particular episode. Well, this year, there are, so many different things that are running through my mind, right? But one thing is absolutely clear to me for 2022. I know that I am ready to soar. And I hope that you are too. With each year, I try to focus on what I've accomplished in the past and what I plan to accomplish in the future. And this year is a year of transition for me in particular, because for the last almost 18 years, I've been parenting, raising multiples. I have a set of twins who will be 18 in June. And this year they are graduating from high school and they are going off to college. So I know that is going to be a huge transition for me, because I'm accustomed to having 3 children in the house at all times. But with that, not only am I looking forward to the transition and looking forward to soaring to new heights, I'm trying to help my children do the same thing. And I want to help you as well. One thing that comes to mind when I think about the word soar, and that's S.O.A.R. What comes to mind for me is strengths, first of all. And when I think about everything that's going on, everything that I'm involved in, I know that I have a lot on my plate right now, but what brings me joy is, providing content for each one of you, being on this microphone, because I view my strengths as someone who is a connector. I try to connect people and disseminate information. That is probably one of my greatest assets and strengths. So we have to recognize our strengths. And I had to take notes today, because it's a little hard for me to multitask as I get a little older, and now I've got readers. So that's a whole nother topic in what happens when you're on Zoom all day and every day. But like I said, we must recognize our own strengths. So one of the ways that we can, focus in on our strengths is to list our talents, our skills, our characteristics, or different behaviors and areas of knowledge which we, have mastered. And so I want you to ask yourself, what are my strongest attributes? What would other people say are your greatest strengths? And what do you do especially well? What skills, abilities, or talents contribute to your greatest success? I should have told you to get a pen and paper so that you can jot it down, but I'm going to list those questions or state those questions again. So ask yourself, what are my greatest strengths? What would other people say are your greatest strengths? What do I do especially well? What skills, abilities, or talents contribute to your greatest success? The other thing that we have to do, and this may cause some of us, a little angst, but we have to seek opportunities to grow. And we have to surround ourselves around other individuals who are focused on becoming a better version of themselves. So before you can see an opportunity, you actually have to go out and look for it. You should be willing to read, research, do the work to find and create different opportunities that's going to yield success. So basically, you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to learn how to make contacts and make connections with other people. And sometimes that's a little difficult for people to do, but you got to do it. We also need to determine our aspirations and focus on achieving results. So there are two types of aspirations. There's intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic are those that help satisfy your psychological needs, right? And these goals play an important role in enhancing a person's well-being. The extrinsic aspirations are those aspirations such as, focusing on achieving a certain outcome, like becoming rich or becoming famous, just, to put it in those simplistic terms. And the way to achieve these results is to persist and adjust. So in other words, the stronger your goals are to completing a project, the more you'll persist to get it done because you can see the finish line. You can see that you're almost at your goal. Prime example, I started a certification class in December. I had been on the waiting list for this class since last year. As a matter of fact, it may have been a little bit longer than that. Completely forgot about the class. And I received a notification about registering for the class. I don't really have the time to add one more thing to my plate, but signed up for the class and it was going well. And then a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, I'm so tired of this. I cannot keep up. It's just too much going on. And I went back and I looked at the list of classes that were remaining before I get this certificate. And I only had one more class left. I'm like, I am too close to the finish line not to, see it through and not to achieve the results. So that was my motivation to continue to persist to get this done. So in a couple of more weeks, I should have the certificate and I'll tell you guys all about it. But and this is another way of motivating myself as well, because now I've put it out there that I'm taking a class or taking classes to earn another certificate. So that means now I got to accomplish that goal. But 2022 is about strength, power, and prosperity. And I really want all of us to soar to new heights this year. So it's time for us to put in the work, and we need to soar together. And so I'm counting on you to help me as I will do the same for you. And one of the ways that you can help me soar and help Light It Up Podcast soar is by sharing your ideas about the podcast, about different topics that you'd like for me to cover. If there are guest recommendations that you have, send me an email. Okay. I am accessible. You can email me at info@aginahmuhammad.com. Again, that's info@aginahmuhammad.com. Or you can always send me a message on the Light It Up Podcast Facebook page. And another important thing that you could do is to like the page, share the page, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already done so, and make sure you tune in. Tune in. Give me ideas. Again, send me names or suggested guests and suggested topics, and I'll make sure that I provide you with the content that you're looking for this season. And so I am looking forward to our time together this season. I plan on covering a lot of different topics this season with my guests, and those topics are designed really to take you to the next level. Guests will include professionals in the mental health field, health, fitness, and nutrition, law, education. We're also going to talk about relationships. Kind of toyed around with those topics in the past, but this year is a totally different year. And I think this season is going to be kind of lit. So make sure you tune in next week. Light It Up Podcast is on Spotify, of course, on Apple Podcasts. You can also check out Light It Up on Instagram, as well as Light It Up Podcast channel. So don't forget, send me an email at info@aginahmuhammad.com, and make sure you like and subscribe the podcast and share with a friend. So until next time, make sure you continue to light it up and shine bright like a diamond. Thanks for joining me this week on Light It Up. Make sure you visit my website at www.lightituppodcast.com or www.aginahmuhammad.com. You can also find me on social media using the handle @LITEITUpPodcast. If you like what you've heard, please be sure to hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, I'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or you can simply tell a friend about the show. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday for a new episode. Until next time, light it up and shine bright like a diamond.